She's alive! Catherine Whitmore is alive! The cathedral exploded. 500 mourners jumped to their feet. The organ died mid-chord. Silas sprinted down the center aisle, his janitor uniform still reeking of hospital bleach. He was 10 feet from the casket when security slammed into him. They crashed to the floor. His face hit marble with a sickening crack. Blood exploded everywhere. "You animal!" The first guard's fist hammered his jaw, once, twice, 3 times. "Crashing a funeral! I'm her janitor!" Silas screamed through broken teeth. "I saved her life 3 weeks ago!" The nephew pushed forward, face white as death. "That's impossible!" "She was getting better!" Blood poured from Silas's nose. "Then suddenly she's dead? Someone's lying!" Silas twisted free and lunged. His bloody hand slammed the casket lid. "If she's really dead, then why is her hospital monitor still showing a heartbeat?" Every eye turned to the nephew. But to understand why Silas would risk everything for a woman he thought he'd never met, you have to go back 3 days, to the night shift that changed everything. 3 days earlier, 3:18 a.m., Memorial Grace Hospital, basement level. Silas pushed his mop cart down the empty hallway, wheels squeaking against linoleum that never stayed clean. The fluorescent lights hummed above him like dying insects. 7th year doing this. 7 years of night shifts, empty corridors, and invisible work. His work boots were falling apart. The left sole separated from the leather every time he took a step. Flap, squeak, flap, squeak. He'd been meaning to replace them for months, but new boots cost money he didn't have. His name badge photo stared back at him from the reflective surface of a window. Younger face, brighter eyes, back when he still smiled easily, back before medical bills, before his wife left, before temporary job became 7 years. He pulled out his thermos, coffee from home. The hospital cafeteria charged $4 for the same thing. $4 was 2 hours of Ivy's vision therapy. Every dollar mattered. The earbuds went in. He pressed play on his phone. Chapter 12, Cardiac Arrhythmias and Emergency Response. Most janitors listened to music. Silas listened to medical textbooks, downloaded free from the library. This month's topic, advanced nursing procedures. He was teaching himself what college would cost $50,000 to learn. He mopped the same hallway where Ivy was born 6 years ago. Same hospital, different life. Back then, he had insurance through his wife's job. Back then, he thought things would get better. The medical bills came after Ivy's emergency C-section. $32,000. Insurance covered some. The rest became a monthly payment plan that never seemed to shrink. $50 a month for 6 years. He'd paid $3,600 and still owed $18,000. Last week he got another letter. Final notice. Pay in full or face legal action. He kept mopping. The motion was rhythmic, therapeutic, left to right. Dip, squeeze, repeat. His hands knew the pattern so well he didn't have to think about it anymore. In cases of sudden cardiac arrest, immediate intervention is critical. Every second counts. The audiobook voice was calm, professional. Silas replayed sections until he memorized them. He could recite the steps for CPR, knew the difference between ventricular fibrillation and a systole, understood medication dosages better than some first-year residents. Not that anyone knew, not that anyone asked. To them, he was just the janitor, the night guy who emptied trash and mopped floors. They talked over him, through him, around him like he was furniture. But that was okay. He didn't do this for recognition. He did it because next fall, if he saved enough, he was enrolling in nursing school. Online classes, part-time. It would take 4 years while working full-time, but he'd do it. For Ivy. His phone buzzed. Text from his mother. Ivy asking when you're coming. Says her eyes hurt again. His chest tightened. He typed back. Tell her Daddy loves her. 2 more days until weekend. Custody arrangement was simple. His ex-wife got weekdays. He got weekends. She had the better apartment, the steady day job, the new boyfriend who didn't smell like industrial cleaner. Silas had night shifts and a 1-bedroom apartment where Ivy slept on the couch when she visited, but she never complained. She just drew pictures of them together. He pulled the latest drawing from his pocket, wrinkled, worn from being folded and unfolded 100 times. 3 stick figures holding hands, the words written in backwards letters, Daddy is my hero. The E in hero was backwards. The school said that was normal for her age, but the vision therapist said it might be more than that. Convergence insufficiency. Her eyes didn't track together properly. It made reading hard, made school hard. The therapy cost $800. Insurance didn't cover it because it was educational, not medical. The therapist said without it, Ivy would struggle for years, fall behind in reading, lose confidence. Silas had been saving for 8 months, every spare dollar, every overtime shift. He was up to $340, still $460 short. He needed that money by next month when the therapy session started. If he missed the window, Ivy would have to wait another year of struggling, another year of reversed letters. He couldn't let that happen. The mop hit a sticky spot on the floor. He scrubbed harder. The motion helped him think, helped him calculate. His next paycheck was $212 after taxes. The one after that, another $212. If he picked up extra shifts, maybe got to $400 by month's end, still $60 short. His phone buzzed again. He hoped it was his mother with a cute story about Ivy, something to make him smile. It wasn't. It was an email from the hospital billing department. Outstanding balance, Ivy Crane Birth Services. This is your final notice before we pursue legal collection. Silas stopped mopping. The hallway was empty. The lights hummed. Somewhere above him, a patient's monitor beeped steadily. He was 34 years old, worked 7 years at the same job, never missed a shift, never called in sick, never complained, and he was drowning. But he kept the drawing in his pocket, kept listening to his audiobooks, kept believing that if he just worked hard enough, paid attention, learned enough, eventually things would change. What Silas didn't know was that his attention to detail, the thing that made him invisible to everyone else, was about to make him impossible to ignore. Because 2 floors above him, in a private room he wasn't supposed to enter, something was very wrong, and he was the only one who would notice. At 2:49 a.m., Silas heard something that would force him to choose between his job and a stranger's life. The hospital was quieter than usual. Ice storm warnings had been flashing on every TV screen since midnight. Roads were closing. Staff called in sick. The skeleton crew was stretched dangerously thin. Silas pushed his cart toward the private wing, the VIP section. He wasn't usually allowed up here, but the regular janitor had called out. Storm emergency meant everyone covered gaps. He moved past rooms with names he recognized from hospital donation plaques. Rich people, important people. The kind who got private nurses and fresh flowers delivered daily. Room 412's door was cracked open, just an inch, enough to see inside. Silas kept walking. Not his business, not his area. But something made him stop. A sound. Wrong sound. He'd listened to enough medical audiobooks to know what a healthy heart monitor should sound like. Steady beeps, regular rhythm. This wasn't that. This was erratic, struggling, dying. He glanced through the door crack. Catherine Whitmore lay in the bed. He recognized her face from the plaques downstairs. She'd donated the entire West Wing. Her portrait hung in the lobby, legendary businesswoman, billionaire philanthropist. And she was dying. The monitor showed patterns that made his stomach drop. Irregular cardiac rhythm. The IV bag hanging beside her bed was completely empty, not a drop left. Her call button had fallen to the floor, out of reach. No staff in sight. Silas looked down the hallway. The nurse's station was empty. Phone system had been glitching all night because of the storm. He'd heard complaints about it during his rounds. He looked back at Catherine. Her lips were turning blue. Cyanosis, oxygen deprivation. Her fingers twitched slightly against the sheets. She was still fighting, still alive, but not for long. Protocol was clear. Janitors don't enter patient rooms, never touch medical equipment, never interfere with care. Call a nurse immediately and let them handle it. But the nearest nurse station was down the hall and around 2 corners. By the time he ran there, explained the situation, got someone back here, she'd be dead. His hands gripped the mop handle. Think. He could walk away, stick to protocol, keep his job, keep Ivy's therapy money safe. Nobody would blame him. He was just a janitor, not his responsibility. But her fingers were still moving, slight, barely, like she was trying to reach for something. The audiobook chapter replayed in his mind. In cases of acute crisis, immediate intervention is critical. Every second of delayed treatment increases mortality risk by 10%. 10%, every 6 seconds. Silas looked at his phone. No signal. Storm had knocked out the cell towers too. He was completely alone. The only person who knew Catherine Whitmore was dying, and the only person who could stop it. But if he went in there and she died anyway, they'd blame him. Fired immediately, possibly sued, maybe even arrested for practicing medicine without a license. Everything he'd worked toward would be gone. Ivy's therapy, nursing school, weekend custody, all of it. His daughter's drawing crinkled in his pocket. Daddy is my hero. What kind of hero walks away when someone needs help? What kind of father teaches his daughter that saving your own skin matters more than saving a life? Silas pushed the door open. Catherine's eyes fluttered, barely conscious. The monitor alarm was muted. Someone had silenced it, on purpose. Accident? Didn't matter. What mattered was she needed help, now. He moved to the IV stand, empty bag, completely dry. She was dehydrated, going into shock. He'd seen this in his textbooks, knew the protocol. But knowing and doings were different things. His hands shook as he checked the IV line, still in place, still functional. He just needed to replace the fluids. But that meant touching medical equipment. That meant crossing a line he couldn't uncross. The security camera in the corner blinked red, then went dark. Power surge from the storm. The backup generators kicked in, but the camera stayed dead. No one would see what happened in this room. No witnesses, no proof. Just Silas and a dying woman. He made his choice. Hands steadying from muscle memory and audiobook knowledge, he grabbed a new IV bag from the supply cart someone had left in the hallway. Saline solution. Basic. Standard. He'd watched nurses do this 1,000 times. He hung it, connected it, started the drip. Catherine's breathing was shallow. He elevated her legs, remembering the shock protocols. Found the emergency oxygen mask hanging on the wall, placed it over her face. Her eyes opened. Just a crack. Looked at him. She tried to speak. Her lips moved behind the oxygen mask. Silas leaned closer. "My son," she whispered. So quiet he almost missed it. "Protect my son." Then her eyes closed again. Silas froze. Son? The news articles never mentioned children. Catherine Whitmore had no family, no heirs. That's what made her so famous, the billionaire who built an empire alone. But she'd just said. The door exploded open. Night supervisor, face red with fury. "What the hell are you doing in here?" Silas didn't know that the security camera in that room was broken, or that his decision to help would soon be the only evidence he had of what came next. For the next 8 minutes, Silas did things janitors aren't trained to do, and discovered abilities he didn't know he had. "Step away from her, now!" The supervisor's voice cut like a whip. Silas didn't move. His hand stayed on the IV drip, adjusting the flow rate. She was dying. The IV was empty. No one was here. "You're a janitor!" Supervisor Matthews stormed into the room, phone already out. "You have no authority to touch a patient." "Then where were the nurses?" Silas's voice stayed calm, even as his heart hammered. Where was anyone? Catherine's monitor beeped, still erratic but stronger than before. The oxygen was helping. The fluids were helping. She was stabilizing. "That's not your concern!" Matthews jabbed her finger toward the door. "Get out before I call security! Call them!" Silas checked Catherine's pulse, weak but present. "But call a doctor first. She needs real help." Matthews' face went purple. She turned to the hallway. "Security! Room 412, now!" Silas kept working. His audiobook knowledge flooded back. Check airway, monitor breathing, maintain IV flow, keep talking to the patient. "Mrs. Whitmore." He leaned close. "Stay with me. Help is coming." Her eyelids fluttered, fingers twitched. "Don't you dare talk to her!" Matthews grabbed his shoulder, tried to pull him back. Silas shrugged her off, gentle but firm. "She's in shock. Moving her wrong could kill her." "You don't know what your elevated legs reduce shock symptoms. Oxygen mask provides supplemental breathing support. IV saline combats dehydration." Silas rattled off the facts without thinking. "I know exactly what I'm doing." Matthews stared. "How do you—" Footsteps thundered down the hallway. Security, multiple guards. But other footsteps too, faster, more urgent. Dr. Reynolds burst through the door, white coat flying behind him, night shift attending. Silas had seen him around but never spoken to him. "What's happening?" Reynolds went straight to Catherine, eyes scanning monitors. "This janitor violated protocol!" Matthews pointed at Silas. "Touch the patient without authorization!" Reynolds ignored her, checked Catherine's vitals, looked at the IV, the oxygen, the elevated legs. His eyes met Silas's. "Who stabilized her?" Silence. I asked a question. Reynolds' voice was sharp, professional. Who did this? Matthews hesitated. He did, but he had no right to. He saved her life. Reynolds cut her off. He turned to Silas. How did you know what to do? Silas swallowed hard. I study. Medical textbooks, audiobooks. I want to be a nurse. Reynolds stared at him for a long moment, then looked back at Catherine. Another 5 minutes and she'd be gone. Cardiac arrest from dehydration and shock. He looked at Silas again. You knew that? The monitor pattern, the empty IV, the way her breathing. Silas trailed off. I just knew something was wrong. Something was very wrong. Reynolds checked Catherine's chart and his face darkened. This IV should have been replaced hours ago. Where was her private nurse? Matthews shifted uncomfortably. Budget cuts. Storm reduced staff. We had to prioritize. Prioritize? Reynolds' voice went cold. She's Catherine Whitmore. She funds half this hospital. We couldn't get out. Reynolds pointed to the door. And bring me a crash cart. Full medical team, now. Matthews fled. Security guards stood in the doorway, uncertain. Wait for orders or act? Reynolds waved them off. Give me space. This patient needs immediate care. They didn't move. Sir, protocol says save the patient first, Reynolds snapped. Out! They backed away. Reynolds worked fast. Added medications to the IV, adjusted oxygen levels, checked pupil response. Every movement was precise, controlled, years of training in every gesture. Silas started to back away. His part was done. He'd helped. Now the real doctor could take over. Wait. Reynolds didn't look up from his work. What's your name? Silas Crane. Silas. Reynolds attached a new monitor lead. In 15 years of medicine, I've seen a lot of people freeze in emergencies. Nurses, med students, even some doctors. He finally looked up. You didn't freeze. Why? Silas thought about the drawing in his pocket. About Ivy needing her father to be brave. Because freezing means someone dies. Reynolds nodded slowly. You should be in medical school. Can't afford it. That's a damn shame. Reynolds went back to work. Because you just did what most first-year residents couldn't do. You assessed, acted, and saved a life. Catherine's monitor settled into a more regular rhythm. Still not perfect, but stable. Fighting. Is she going to make it? Silas asked. Thanks to you, yes. Reynolds made a final adjustment. But I need to know something. Her chart shows a DNR order. Do not resuscitate. Did you see that? Silas nodded. It was clipped on top. Recent. The paperwork looked rushed. Reynolds pulled the chart closer, examined it. His jaw tightened. This was filed tonight, just hours ago. He looked at Silas. Catherine Whitmore never filed a DNR. I've been her doctor for 3 years. She made her wishes very clear. Full resuscitation, always. The room temperature seemed to drop. Someone added this tonight, Reynolds said quietly. While she was alone, while staff was thin. He looked at the empty IV bag. And someone let her IV run dry. Silas's stomach turned. I think you need to leave. Now. Reynolds' voice was urgent but kind. Before whoever did this realizes you saved her. But listen to me carefully. Reynolds gripped Silas's shoulder. You did the right thing. You saved her life. But someone in this hospital tried to end it. His eyes were deadly serious. And they won't be happy you interfered. Footsteps echoed down the hallway, more staff arriving. The medical team Reynolds called. Go, Reynolds urged. I'll handle this. I'll make sure she's protected. Will you tell them? Silas gestured to his uniform. That I helped? Reynolds paused. I'll tell them the truth, that you're the reason she's alive. Silas nodded, started toward the door. Silas? He turned back. Thank you, Reynolds said simply, for being the one person who gave a damn. Silas left the room as the medical team rushed in. Doctors, nurses, equipment. Catherine was in good hands now. He pushed his mop cart down the hallway, back to the basement, back to invisible work. His hands were shaking, adrenaline crash hitting hard. He'd just saved a billionaire's life. He'd also probably lost his job. And if Dr. Reynolds was right, if someone really tried to kill Catherine, he was in danger too. But none of that mattered right now. What mattered was she was alive, fighting, because he didn't walk away. Behind him, in room 412, Catherine Whitmore's eyes opened, really opened. For the first time in hours, she was fully conscious. Dr. Reynolds leaned over her. "Mrs. Whitmore, can you hear me?" Her lips moved, dry, cracked, but the words came out clear. "The janitor," she whispered. "Where is he?" Reynolds hesitated. "He's gone, but he saved your life." Catherine's hand gripped the bed rail. Her eyes were suddenly sharp, focused. "Find him. Protect him. Mrs. Whitmore, you need to rest. They'll come for him next." Her voice grew stronger despite her weakness. "When they realize I'm alive, when they know he helped me." She looked straight at Reynolds. "Find Silas Crane. Keep him safe." "Who's trying to hurt you?" Catherine's eyes closed, not from unconsciousness, from pain, from betrayal. "Family," she whispered. As security walked him out, Silas had no idea that Catherine Whitmore had just opened her eyes, or that her first whispered word would set everything in motion. Silas lost his job that morning, but what he gained was something he couldn't yet see. 6 a.m., HR office, ice storm still pounding the windows. Claire Anderson slid the termination letter across her desk without looking at him. "Effective immediately, violation of protocol, unauthorized patient contact, liability exposure." Silas sat in the plastic chair, uniform still reeking of bleach. His hands were clean, but he could still feel Catherine's pulse, weak, then stronger, alive. "I understand," he said quietly. Claire's pen stopped. "You're not going to argue? Would it change anything?" She pushed another paper forward. "Final paycheck, $340. $340, everything he'd saved for Ivy's therapy, still $460 short and now no job." "Is she okay?" Silas asked. "Mrs. Whitmore?" Claire blinked. "That's not your concern anymore. I know, I'm just asking." Something flickered in her eyes, almost respect. "She's stable. Dr. Reynolds says she'll recover." Silas stood. Then it was worth it. He walked out of Memorial Grace Hospital for the last time. The doors closed behind him with a soft hiss. Buses weren't running. 3-hour walk home in freezing weather. He started walking. 2 days later, the knock came at 2 p.m. Silas was searching for jobs online. Every application asked, "Reason for leaving last position." He opened the door. A man in an expensive suit stood there. Behind him, a black town car idled. "Silas Crane? I'm Thomas Bennett, Mrs. Catherine Whitmore's executive assistant." He held out an envelope. Silas opened it. A check slipped out. $50,000. His brain froze. $50,000, that was everything. Ivy's therapy, rent, hospital bills, nursing school, everything. "Mrs. Whitmore wants to express her gratitude for saving her life," Thomas said. Silas stared at the numbers. His hands shook. One signature and every problem disappeared. Ivy could get her therapy. Medical debt gone. School next semester. "Mr. Crane?" Thomas waited. Silas folded the check. Once, twice. He tore it in half. Thomas's eyes went wide. "Sir?" Silas tore it again. "Quarters. I can't take this." "What?" "Tell Mrs. Whitmore I appreciate it, but I didn't do it for money." He handed the pieces back. "I did it because it was right." Thomas stood frozen, $50,000 in shreds in his palm. "This could change your life." "I know, but if I take it, what I did becomes a transaction." Silas stepped back. "Please tell her I'm glad she's okay." "At least consider." "I have. My answer is no." Thomas stared like he was speaking another language. "I've worked for Mrs. Whitmore 12 years. No one has ever refused her generosity." "Then I'm the first." Thomas pulled out a business card. Embossed. Gold Whitmore Enterprises logo. "When you change your mind, call." "I won't. Keep it anyway. Mrs. Whitmore will want to thank you personally, regardless of money." He placed it on the door frame and left. Silas closed the door, slid down to the floor. He'd just refused $50,000. The apartment was quiet except for the radiator, bills stacked on the table, past due notices, final warnings. Ivy's therapy schedule at the bottom. First appointment in 3 weeks, $800 he didn't have. He pulled her drawing from his pocket. Wrinkled, worn, backwards letters, stick figures. "Daddy is my hero." His hands smoothed it out. What kind of hero gets paid for doing the right thing? he whispered. The business card lay on the floor, gold logo catching light. He picked it up, stared at it, then crumpled it, threw it in the trash. Silas had no idea that his refusal to take that money had just earned him something far more valuable: Catherine Whitmore's complete attention. While Silas searched for new work, Catherine Whitmore was asking questions that would uncover a truth buried for decades. Memorial Grace Hospital, private recovery suite. Catherine sat propped against pillows, eyes sharp and calculating. Thomas stood beside her bed, tablet in hand. "Tell me about the janitor," Catherine said. Silas Crane, 34 years old. 7 years at Memorial Grace, night shift, fired for helping you, Thomas scrolled. And he refused the $50,000. Tore the check into pieces. Catherine was quiet. Her fingers traced the IV line Silas had replaced. Who refuses that much money? Someone with principles? Or someone rare? Catherine looked at Thomas. Find out everything about him. Everything. I have a preliminary report. Deeper, family, history, why he works nights. She paused. And why he was there that specific night. Thomas made notes. May I ask why? He saved my life twice, Thomas. Twice? Once by replacing my IV, once by ignoring the DNR order. Catherine's jaw tightened. The forged DNR that someone filed to let me die. Thomas went pale. You think someone tried to kill you? I know they did. Catherine looked out the window. And Silas is the only witness, which means he's in danger too. 3 days later, 6th interview. 6th rejection. Protocol violation? The interviewer's expression closed. We'll be in touch. They wouldn't be. Silas walked out into cold sunlight. No hospital would hire him now. Word had spread. Liability risk. His phone buzzed. Text from his mother. Ivy's therapy Friday. Do you have the money? He didn't. $340. The appointment cost $800. Another text. Hospital billing called, threatening legal action. Silas pulled up the bill. $18,000 from Ivy's birth. 6 years ago at Memorial Grace. He stared at it. Something nagged him. The bill was marked, emergency delivery, anonymous benefactor paid 50%. Anonymous benefactor. Someone had paid half of Ivy's medical costs 6 years ago. He'd assumed hospital charity, but what if it wasn't? His phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mr. Crane, this is Thomas Bennett. We need to talk about Mrs. Whitmore. I'm not taking money. It's not about money. It's about your safety. Thomas's voice was urgent. Someone tried to kill Catherine Whitmore. You're the only witness to what happened that night. Silas's chest tightened. What are you saying? I'm saying you're in danger. Can we meet? When? Now. Cathedral Coffee Shop. 1 hour. The line went dead. Silas stood on the sidewalk, cold wind cutting through his jacket. Someone tried to kill Catherine, and now they might come for him. But something else bothered him more. That anonymous benefactor, 6 years ago. Memorial Grace Hospital, the same hospital where Catherine Whitmore donated millions. Coincidence? He didn't believe in coincidences anymore. What neither Silas nor Catherine knew was that their paths had crossed before, and the truth was hidden in a hospital record from decades ago. The funeral was supposed to be the end of Catherine Whitmore's story. Instead, it became the beginning of Silas's. The coffee shop was nearly empty. Thomas Bennett sat in the corner booth, eyes scanning every person who entered. Silas slid into the seat across from him. No coffee, no pleasantries, just tension thick enough to cut. You said I'm in danger? Silas said. Explain. Thomas pulled out a folder, slid it across the table. The night you saved Mrs. Whitmore, someone had filed a DNR order, forged her signature, made it look legitimate. Dr. Reynolds told me. What he didn't tell you is that we tracked who filed it. Thomas opened the folder. A photo stared back. Well-dressed man, expensive suit, familiar face from news articles. Gerald Whitmore, Catherine's nephew. Silas's stomach dropped. Her own family? He stands to inherit everything if she dies. Whitmore Enterprises, the foundation, billions. Thomas's jaw tightened. And you're the only person who can prove someone tried to kill her that night. The security camera was disabled. Storm damage, they claimed. Convenient. Thomas leaned forward. Your testimony is the only evidence that something was wrong, that her IV was empty, that the DNR was suspicious. Silas processed this. So Gerald wants me gone. We think so. Catherine's been in hiding since she recovered. Private facility, fake name. She doesn't trust anyone at Memorial Grace. Thomas hesitated. She wants to meet you, properly. Thank you in person. I don't need thanks. I know. That's why she wants to meet you. Thomas almost smiled. She's never met anyone who refused her money before. She's curious. Silas looked at the photo of Gerald Whitmore. Rich, powerful, connected. If I testify against him, he'll destroy me. Probably. I have a daughter. She needs me. I know. Thomas pulled out another paper. Which is why Catherine wants to help. Not with money, with protection, legal support, a job that's not at a hospital where Gerald has connections. Silas shook his head. I can't take charity. It's not charity. It's justice. Thomas's eyes were serious. Catherine believes you saved her life for a reason. She wants to return the favor. Before Silas could respond, Thomas's phone buzzed. He looked at it. His face went white. What? Silas asked. Thomas stared at the screen. Catherine's dead. The words didn't make sense. What? News alert. Catherine Whitmore died an hour ago. Complications from her illness. Thomas's hands shook. But that's impossible. I just talked to her this morning. She was fine. Silas grabbed the phone, read the headline. Billionaire Catherine Whitmore dies at 58. Funeral Friday at St. Catherine's Cathedral, Friday, 2 days away. This is wrong, Thomas said. She's not dead, I spoke to her. She's at a private facility under protection. Then who did they... Silas stopped. It's a trap. Thomas looked up. What? Think about it. Gerald tried to kill her once. Failed because of me. So now he's faking her death. Getting her officially declared gone. Once she's buried, once everyone believes she's dead... Silas's mind raced. He can actually kill her and no one will look twice. Thomas's face showed he understood. Because she's already legally dead. Call her. Now. Thomas dialed. It rang and rang. No answer. He tried another number. The private facility. This is Thomas Bennett. I need to speak to my client immediately. Pause. What do you mean she checked out? I never authorized... His face drained of color. When? He hung up. 2 hours ago. Her nephew picked her up. Said it was family emergency. Gerald, he has her. Thomas stood. We need to call the police. And tell them what? That a billionaire who's legally dead was kidnapped by her nephew? Silas stood too. They won't believe us. Then what do we do? Silas thought fast. The funeral, Friday, public event, cameras, witnesses. We go to the funeral, we expose it as a fake. Force them to prove she's actually dead. That's insane. You have a better idea? Thomas didn't. Friday morning, Silas stood outside St. Catherine's Cathedral. Limousines lined the street. News vans, celebrities in black, senators, CEOs. The world had come to mourn Catherine Whitmore, but she wasn't dead. She couldn't be. Thomas stood beside him, pale and shaking. If we're wrong, we're not wrong. Silas watched Gerald Whitmore exit a limousine. Expensive suit, sad expression that didn't reach his eyes, playing the grieving nephew perfectly. How can you be sure? Silas pulled out his phone, showed Thomas a photo he'd found online. Catherine Whitmore from 6 years ago at a hospital charity event, Memorial Grace Hospital. Same month Ivy was born. 6 years ago, someone paid half of my daughter's medical bills. Anonymous benefactor. Silas's voice was steady. I think it was her. Thomas stared at the photo. Why would she do that? I don't know, but there's a connection between us. Something that goes back further than last week. Silas looked at the cathedral. And I think Gerald knows what it is. That's why he wants both of us gone. What connection? Silas thought about Catherine's whispered words in the hospital room. My son. Protect my son. He thought about the anonymous benefactor, the hospital records, the timing. He thought about being adopted, no records, no mother listed. I need to find out, Silas said quietly. And the only way to do that is to stop this funeral. Thomas looked at him, really looked. You think she's your mother? Silas didn't answer, couldn't answer, because saying it out loud made it real, made it something he could lose. If I'm right, then Gerald tried to kill my mother. Silas's jaw tightened. And I'm not letting him finish the job. He started walking toward the cathedral doors. Thomas grabbed his arm. Silas, If you go in there and you're wrong, they'll arrest you. Gerald will destroy you. You'll lose your daughter. Everything. I know. Then why risk it? Silas thought of Ivy's drawing. Daddy is my hero. Because heroes don't walk away when someone needs saving. He pulled free, even if that someone might be family. He pushed through the cathedral doors just as the organ began to play. 500 faces turned, and Silas opened his mouth to speak the truth that would change everything. What happened next would either prove Silas was a hero or confirm he was a fool who'd just ended his life on live television. The cathedral went silent after Silas's accusation. 500 pairs of eyes locked on Gerald Whitmore. Gerald's face cycled through shock to rage. This man is disturbed. Security! Open the casket, Bishop Morrison said quietly. Everyone turned to the bishop. Your Grace, this is irregular. Gerald started. Open it. The bishop's voice carried authority. If he's wrong, we prove it. If he's right, we have bigger problems. Gerald went pale. This disrespects my aunt's memory. Now! Two assistants approached the casket. The crowd pressed closer. News cameras swiveled. Live broadcast. The lid opened slowly. Gasps rippled through the cathedral. The body inside was wrong. Similar face, but incorrect age markers. Wrong jewelry. Makeup too thick. That's not Catherine Whitmore, someone whispered. The whisper became chaos. Where is she? Call the police! Gerald tried to back away. Security blocked him. Thomas appeared, phone to his ear. Police are coming! Catherine is alive! Gerald was holding her under false pretenses. Gerald's face twisted with rage. He lunged at Silas. You ruined everything! Guards grabbed him. He fought, screaming. She was supposed to be gone! That company is mine! The confession echoed through the cathedral. Police sirens wailed outside. 2 hours later, Silas sat in a private hospital room. Somewhere safer than Memorial Grace. The door opened. Catherine Whitmore walked in, tired but alive. Her eyes found Silas. Hello, Silas. Her voice was strong. He stood. Mrs. Whitmore, I'm fine. Thanks to you. Twice now you've saved my life. I just did what was right. Most people don't. She sat across from him. Do you know why Gerald wanted me dead? Inheritance? Partially, but there's more. Catherine pulled an envelope from her bag. Gerald discovered something I've hidden for 34 years. Something that would change my will. Silas's heart pounded. 34 years ago, I was 17, pregnant, terrified. Catherine's voice stayed steady. My family forced me to give up my baby. A boy. Emergency delivery at Memorial Grace Hospital. Silas couldn't breathe. The adoption was sealed, records buried. I searched for years, found nothing. She looked at him. Until 3 weeks ago, when a janitor saved my life. She opened the envelope, pulled out papers. Silas Crane, born at Memorial Grace. Same date, same time, mother unknown, adoption sealed. She placed papers on the table. I ran DNA tests from the IV samples. One more paper, lab results. 99.9% match. Her voice cracked. Silas, you're my son. The world stopped. Silas stared at the numbers, the proof. I don't understand. I know this is overwhelming. I've had days to process, you've had seconds. Why didn't you tell me before? I wasn't sure at first, and Gerald was suspicious. If he knew I'd found my son... She looked down. He would have killed you, so I hid. Protected you until the funeral forced everything open. Silas thought about Ivy's medical bills. The anonymous benefactor 6 years ago, that was you. Catherine nodded. I'd been tracking you. When your daughter was born, when I saw the bills, I paid half. Made things easier without revealing myself. Why not tell me then? Would you have believed me? A billionaire claiming to be your mother? Catherine's eyes were wet. You refused $50,000. How would you react to this? So what now? Catherine leaned forward. Now I want to make up for 34 lost years. Not with money, with time, with family. She pulled out another paper. Full scholarship to nursing school. You'll work for it. Study, earn your degree, but you won't have to choose between education and your daughter. Silas stared at the offer. Ivy's therapy is covered. Medical bills cleared, not as a gift, as what a grandmother does for her granddaughter. Catherine's voice broke. I have a granddaughter who needs glasses. Silas's throat tightened. I don't know what to say. Say you'll let me be part of your life, both your lives. Catherine offered her hand. I can't give back the years we lost. But I can give you a future where you don't have to choose between doing what's right and taking care of your family. Silas looked at her hand. The DNA results, the scholarship. He thought about Ivy, about the drawing, about being a hero. He took Catherine's hand. "Okay," he whispered. Catherine squeezed his hand, tears streaming. "Thank you for saving my life, for being exactly the man I hoped you'd become." The door opened. Thomas appeared. "The press wants a statement." Catherine stood, still holding Silas's hand. "Then let's give them one, together." 3 days later, the press conference was packed. Cameras everywhere. Catherine stood at the podium, Silas beside her. "3 weeks ago, a janitor saved my life," Catherine began. "He refused reward, refused recognition. He just did what was right." She paused. "What the world doesn't know is that janitor is my son, the child I was forced to give up 34 years ago." The room erupted. Catherine raised her hand for silence. "My nephew tried to kill me to prevent this truth from coming out, to protect his inheritance." Her voice hardened. "He failed, and now Silas and I are announcing something bigger than either of us." She looked at Silas. He stepped forward. "We're creating the Whitmore Crane Healthcare Initiative," Silas said, voice steady. "A program to train underserved workers in emergency medical response. Because the people who see everything, janitors, security guards, service workers, they're the ones who can save lives if we just give them the tools." Catherine smiled. "We're starting with 1,000 scholarships, free training, full certification, because my son taught me that heroes aren't born in boardrooms. They're born in night shifts when no one's watching." The cameras flashed, and everything changed. What neither of them knew yet was that this reunion would spark something that would transform thousands of lives. But Catherine Whitmore didn't just change Silas's life. She transformed an entire community that had been forgotten. 6 months later, Silas stood in front of Memorial Grace Hospital. Same building, different man. He wore scrubs now, nursing student badge clipped to his pocket, first semester complete, straight A's. Those audiobooks had prepared him well. Ivy walked beside him, new glasses on her nose, no more squinting, no more backwards letters. Reading jumped 2 grade levels. "Daddy, is this where you worked?" she asked. "Yeah, this is where everything changed." Catherine waited by the entrance. Cameras everywhere. Today was the launch. The sign above the door, Whitmore Crane Healthcare Training Center. The program. Inside, 50 people filled the classroom. Janitors, security guards, cafeteria workers, people who'd been invisible their whole careers. Catherine stood at the front. "You work in healthcare facilities. You see patients daily. You notice things doctors miss. My son proved observation and courage save lives. Now we're giving you the training to do it legally." Silas stepped forward. 6 months ago, I was where you are, watching, learning, wanting to help. He held up his certification. "Today, I'm a licensed EMT. In 2 years, I'll be an RN. Every one of you can do the same." A woman raised her hand. Cafeteria worker, single mother. "How much does this cost?" "Nothing," Catherine said. "Full scholarship, books, exams, everything." Tears rolled down the woman's face. 3 months in, the first graduate saved a life. Former janitor at County Hospital. He'd been mopping the ER when a patient went into cardiac arrest. He started CPR, kept the patient alive until doctors arrived. News covered it. Janitor turned EMT saves life using new training program. Then another story. Security guard noticed stroke symptoms. Patient got treatment within the golden hour. Full recovery. Then another, and another. By month 6, 12 lives saved by program graduates. Hospitals with trained support staff had faster emergency response, better patient outcomes, lower mortality rates. Hospital systems nationwide took notice. Catherine stood before 20 hospital CEOs. The pilot program exceeded projections. 12 lives saved, 0 liability incidents, staff morale up, patient satisfaction scores up 18%. Next slide. We're expanding to 50 cities, 5,000 scholarships year 1, the Second Eyes Initiative, because sometimes the second pair of eyes saves the life. One CEO asked about liability. Already covered. New certification standards. These workers aren't replacing nurses. They're the first line of observation. Another asked about cost. We subsidize the first year. After that, hospitals fund it. The ROI is clear. Fewer lawsuits, better outcomes. Catherine smiled. Plus, it's the right thing to do. One by one, the CEOs nodded agreement. People who'd ignored Silas now sought his advice. Dr. Reynolds became medical director of the program. You were right. We'd been overlooking our most valuable observers. Claire Anderson, the HR director who fired him, now worked in his division. She apologized publicly. I was wrong. Protocol matters, but so do people. Security guards who tackled him at the funeral now attended his training sessions. Supervisor Matthews showed up at his classroom, nervous, humble. I'm here to enroll, she said quietly. If you'll have me. Silas remembered her fury, her certainty that he was nobody. Welcome to the program, he said. Everyone deserves a second chance. Catherine established the Ivy Crane Vision Fund. 1,000 children received free vision therapy first year. Ivy helped hand out the first pairs of glasses. My daddy says everyone deserves to see clearly, Ivy told cameras. Not just with their eyes, with their hearts too. The clip went viral, 10 million views. Donations poured in, but the moment that mattered most happened quietly. Sunday dinner, Catherine's house, just 3 of them. Ivy drew a new picture, 3 stick figures holding hands, but this time she added a 4th. That's Grandma, Ivy explained. Now our family is complete. Catherine held the drawing, tears streaming. Can I keep this? Of course. It's for you. Silas watched his mother and daughter together. 2 people he almost lost, 2 people who almost never knew each other existed. The conspiracy, the funeral, the DNA test, all of it led here, to this table, this family, this moment. Catherine looked at Silas. I have something for you. She pulled out a framed photo. Old, faded. A teenage girl holding a newborn baby in a hospital room. I only had 10 minutes with you before they took you away, Catherine whispered. But I made them take this photo. I've kept it hidden for 34 years. Silas stared at the image, his mother, 17 years old, 17, holding him. The only photo of them together until now. I want you to have it, Catherine said, so you know you were loved from the very first moment. Silas couldn't speak, just held the photo, held the proof that he'd always mattered. But the most powerful change wasn't in the programs or policies. It was in how Silas saw himself. 1 year later, Silas returned to the place where his old life ended and his new one began, St. Catherine's Cathedral, 1-year anniversary. Not a funeral this time, a celebration. Catherine hosted the first annual Everyday Heroes Gala. The same cathedral that witnessed chaos now overflowed with hope. Silas stood at the podium, looking at familiar faces. Thomas, Dr. Reynolds, Bishop Morrison, security guards who'd tackled him. A year ago, I stood here looking crazy, Silas began, voice confident now. I crashed a funeral, got tackled, bled on this floor. Today I stand here because someone taught me that being invisible doesn't mean being worthless. Applause filled the cathedral. This year, our program trained 2,000 workers. They saved 43 lives, 43 people alive because someone noticed, someone cared, someone acted. The cameras found faces in the crowd. The cafeteria worker from enrollment, now certified. The security guard who'd saved the stroke patient. Supervisor Matthews, who now taught classes. Catherine joined him on stage. My son taught me that the most important people are often the ones we don't see. Every person here was once invisible, but you're not invisible anymore. You're heroes. Standing ovation, tears, pride. After the event, Silas walked the empty cathedral alone. He stopped where he'd been tackled, where blood had stained marble, where everything changed. Footsteps echoed. A young woman approached, early 20s, hospital uniform, nervous. Mr. Crane, I'm sorry to bother you. She hesitated. I just started nights at Memorial Grace. Housekeeping. I'm struggling. Bills. My son needs surgery I can't afford. Silas saw himself in her eyes. Exhaustion. Hope fighting despair. What's your name? Shanice. Do you want to be more than housekeeping? I want to be a nurse, but I can't afford school. Silas pulled out a card. Whitmore Crane Training Center. Come Monday morning, tell them I sent you. Her eyes widened. The program, but there's a waiting list. Not anymore. We just opened 500 spots. You're filling one. Why would you help me? You don't know me. Because someone helped me when I was invisible. Now it's my turn to see you. He placed the card in her hand. You matter, Shanice. She clutched it like gold. I won't let you down. You couldn't if you tried. She walked away, hope in her step. Catherine appeared from the shadows. Another one? Another one? You can't save everyone. No, but I can save someone. And someone saves someone, and eventually we change the world. Catherine linked her arm through his. Come on, Ivy's waiting with her report card. Straight A's again? Is there any doubt? They walked toward the exit. Mother and son, family found. Behind them, Bishop Morrison watched and smiled. Some interruptions, he thought, are exactly what the world needs, because heroes aren't born in boardrooms. They're born in night shifts, in moments of courage when no one's watching. Here's the truth. You don't have to be rich to change a life. You don't have to be powerful to speak truth. You don't have to be seen to make a difference. Somewhere right now, someone needs you to be brave. Someone needs you to notice them. Someone needs you to act when everyone else walks away. Silas was just a janitor, but his courage exposed a conspiracy, reunited a family, and created a movement that saved dozens of lives. The question is, will you be the one who notices? Will you be the one who acts? If this story moved you, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear that they matter, and leave a comment. Tell me about a time someone saw you when you felt invisible, or tell me how you plan to see someone else. Subscribe so you never miss stories that prove we're all connected, that we all matter, that sometimes the person everyone overlooks knows more than anyone realizes, because heroes don't wait for permission. They just act.